My parents were married on January 5th, 1958 at St. Dominic's Church in Managua, Nicaragua, as you can see by this wedding photo. And they have been married now for 66 years. And one big factor in the marriage has been their deep connection with Jesus. During the 66 years, every Sunday they have gone to Mass and received Jesus in the Eucharist. Every day of those 66 years, each evening they pray together. They pray the rosary and petitionary prayers. And I remember as a child, I would hear them pray these prayers in the bedroom next door. This is a couple that is deeply rooted in Jesus, deeply connected to Jesus. And because of this connection, this faithfulness, they have borne much fruit. It is this connection to Jesus that has allowed them to live their dreams. It was always the dream of my parents to own a house in San Francisco. But back in the 1970s, exactly like now, it's very hard to own a house in San Francisco, especially when you don't have much money. But they found their dream house. It was in the Sunset District in San Francisco, but they didn't have enough for the down payment. And this is where their connection with Jesus just really starts to play a difference. The owner of that house was having a very hard time selling the house, and he really wanted to sell it. So he loaned my father the down payment to buy the house. And my parents now have been living in that house, which they own, for the last 54 years. This connection with Jesus has borne fruit for my parents in terms of being able to handle economic difficulties. Once again, back in the early 70s, they were on the very edge financially. It was a very scary time because my father had been laid off, was having a hard time finding a job. And my mother, because she didn't speak English, was having a very hard time finding a job. Once again, that connection with Jesus just really seemed to play a big difference because both of my parents now, with the help of Jesus, were able to master English and able to find good jobs with the government. And they're able to work for the government many years, and they're retired with an excellent pension. And in retirement, they were able to travel around the world each year. This connection with Jesus bore fruit in terms of their family. They had 4 sons. 2 sons have been married for more than 30 years. They have 5 grandchildren. And they have 1 son who is a special needs child who has lived at home with them for 63 years. But they've been able to care for him there for that amount of time. And of course, 1 son became a priest, and he's here serving you, well, as best as he can. It is really no coincidence, the cause and effect here. It is no coincidence that their connection with Christ, their faithfulness in Jesus has borne much fruit, has borne so many blessings. I mean, it's that simple. If you're connected with Jesus, you're going to get many blessings. You're going to bear much fruit. This connection with Jesus is very evident in the readings that we hear today. In the first reading from the Acts of the Apostles, Saul, also known as Paul, has just had this incredible conversion experience with Jesus. When he's on his way to Damascus, he falls off the horse, and he is now, with his conversion experience, forever connected with Jesus. And it is this connection with Jesus that allows him to win over the early Christian community who has so much mistrust in him. And it is this connection with Jesus that allows him to eventually evangelize and bear much fruit. Also, in the first reading, we hear something very interesting. It says that the early church was at peace. This doesn't mean that there wasn't conflict there, but what it means is that the early church had this deep connection with Jesus, so they had the capability and strength now of spreading the message and the word of Jesus, so that others then that learn about Jesus can bear fruit. In the gospel, we hear the very famous parable of the vine and the branches. In this parable, Jesus says that he is the vine that is the connection we need to succeed. He says that without him, we can do nothing. That it is only with him as the vine that he can give us the nourishment, the guidance, and the growth that we need to be able to bear fruit. Connection, faithfulness in Jesus can change the course of our lives. Be like my parents. Have this connection with Jesus. Make the commitment to go to Mass every Sunday. Make the commitment to receive the Eucharist in faith. And make the commitment to daily prayer. Then you will find, like my parents, that this connection with Jesus, if you have it, you will bear much fruit. And it is evidenced by this photo of my parents on their 66th wedding anniversary. They have borne much fruit. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.